While valuing influencers can be really complex, at a basic level it's really easy. All you need to do is go through and figure out how much would it cost to do the same thing with advertising. So, if an influencer has, say, an organic reach of 50,000, you could go through and take a look and see how much would it cost to have 50,000 people see my ad using Facebook Ad Manager. You could go in, take a look at a reach ad, see what the CPM is, say it's $2 for 1,000 people, then it would be 50 times 2, $100. That's your answer. So at a basic level, that influencer is basically worth $100 per post. Now, the key thing here is you want to be taking a look at their organic reach, not just their number of followers. Because they might have a ton of followers, but if not everybody's actually seeing their content, then it's not that useful to you. You only want to pay for the eyeballs that are actually seeing their particular post. What is the easiest way to go through and figure out what an influencer's organic reach is? I suggest just going through and asking them. Ask them to send you screenshots of how their last couple posts have done. It's a really good way to find it out. You can also go through and estimate it based on their public engagement rate. Most Instagram posts have an engagement rate of around 2 or 3%. So if you can take a look at how their last 5 or 10 posts have done in terms of engagement, you can backtrack what the organic reach was based on that information. So, say for instance you find out that an influencer's been posting the last 5-10 times and they've had, say, an engagement of about 900. If about 2 to 3% of people who see that post go through and engage with it, you can take that number 900 and divide it by 0.02, we'll be a little bit stingy, by 0.02, 2%, and that will tell you an estimate of how many people probably actually saw that post. So 900 divided by 0.02, it's about 45,000 people. It's a nice way to kind of estimate what their organic reach is. You can also go through and use websites that will do the same thing for you and figure out those calculations. There's some links down below of ones you might want to go through and try out. But at this basic level, it's really easy to go through and get that information to use for your own calculations. As a smart, savvy marketing student, you're probably wondering, but hey, Colin, aren't there other things that influencers do besides just reach? Are they really the same as just any old ad you throw up on Facebook or Instagram? Totally agree with you. And this is something that Justine Rapp-Farrell, another professor here at USD, and I look at in a recent paper we just had in Business Horizons. This goes through and takes a look at all the different sources of value that influencers provide. We find that many people, even those in business, tend to undervalue the kind of benefits that influencers offer us as marketers. So we go through in this paper and deconstruct the value that influencers provide into 3 different buckets. In the first bucket, called audience, there's a couple different criteria. One of them is obviously going to be reach. Yes, influencers get a lot of organic reach, and they're able to get your content in front of a lot of eyeballs for not much cost. They're then, as a result, able to charge for access to their audience, just like a TV network or a magazine. There are, however, a couple other components to their audience. The second thing is targeting. Influencers attract people who are excited by whatever it is that they're passionate about. They can be a great way to go through and target that particular audience. This is going to become increasingly important as more and more privacy tools are built into web browsers and mobile devices, and it becomes harder and harder to go through and precisely track consumers like marketers have been doing for many years. If an influencer's follower base is really targeted and specific, they can actually charge extra for that. This is because it saves you money blasting out your ad to a whole bunch of people who may not be interested in it. For instance, it might be the case you're trying to find, say, 20,000 people who are really into Italian food. If there's an influencer who's purposely focused on Italian food, you might be able to pay them to advertise to their 30,000 followers, which are many of those 20,000 people, as opposed to going through and paying for 100,000 people to see your ad on Facebook because you can't precisely target that same group. The other component of audience is attention. Influencers are really good at getting people to be able to actually look at their content. They present it in appealing ways and have cool things they do, and if consumers are more likely to see it, look at it, engage with it, and remember it, that's valuable to you as a marketer, and you might want to pay a premium for that extra service that you get, for that extra attention that an influencer can garner with their posts. Another aspect of influencers' value relates to them being an endorser. An endorser is somebody that makes a consumer more likely to respond positively or want to buy a particular product or service. Endorsers can come in several different flavors. One could be a celebrity. This is somebody that consumers look up to and idolize and want to be like. They'll buy products to get closer to being like that particular celebrity. Influencers can also be experts. These are people that consumers trust and for their knowledge of a certain subject, whether it's beauty or fashion, electronics. They look to them for their advice and their opinion because they trust them and know they know a lot about that particular area or topic. Influencers can also be powerful endorsers because they are just like you or me. They are everyday people, everyday consumers. We might trust them because they act just like us. Maybe they live in the same city, maybe they go to the same school or have similar hobbies. For whatever reason though, we look at them as somebody that we trust because they're like our friends or family. We can take a look at follower size as kind of a rough guide to which different part of being an endorser that consumer finds their value. Generally speaking, the bigger your follower size is, the more likely you are to be seen as an expert because you have a ton of people looking to you, or a celebrity because of the fact that you have a lot going on and a lot of eyeballs on you. If you're smaller, you're more likely to pull your power from being an everyday consumer, somebody that people relate to and find powerful for that reason. The final type of value that an influencer brings to us as marketers is acting as a social media manager. As people who've been doing this now for a while, we're all well aware of how much time and effort goes into creating content, whether it's taking photos or creating videos, and then going through, of course, and editing those. Doing all of these different things is valuable, especially if you're a smaller company that doesn't have a lot of resources to go through and actually do this stuff on your own. So hiring an influencer can provide a ton of value by taking all of that off your plate. So, putting it all together, when you're valuing influencers, you want to think about the audience, thinking about how many people are actually going to see that particular content, how targeted or niche that audience is, the amount of attention they're going to be paying to it if they're good at doing that, what type of value the endorsement offers, and then what type of value the content creation and potentially the social media management is going to offer you as well too. All of these different factors have to be taken into account when deciding on how valuable an influencer is. Just because they're a little bit more expensive than going through and running ads on Facebook and Instagram doesn't mean they're necessarily bad value.